Hello, hello, hello. We should be live. Hopefully you can see me, you can hear me. Interestingly, it's telling me the stream is not good, yet I'll put that over here. See if we get a better signal. But I did a speed test, and the speed test said it was good. How are you, Aussie Paul? How are you? Hopefully you're good. Hello, hello, hello. Are you there? Oh, my shift button on the right doesn't work, so I go to do a question mark and I get a /. Sorry about that. Why am I getting a bad streaming? Hey, Sunnyside, how you going? What's going on here with the stream? Got visual and audio. Coffee? Not tonight. It's Friday night here. We don't do coffee on Friday nights. We do apple juice. So, I'll give you a quick update, guys, because good to see you all there. I've had Apple dialing into my computer, so I didn't have any support with them, and I didn't have any support package, if you like. So I rang them up and said, "Will you help me out?" And I tried getting it online, and it was very difficult. And then somehow online, I found a way to get help. And I got a phone call. I found a very, very helpful guy in Singapore who works for Apple. And he spent about, I reckon, 4 hours with me on the phone, dialed in, trying to work out the problem. We made the computer crash. He then took the log file and he gave it to the technical team at Apple. And then they came back and said, try this, this, and this. So we then spent another hour deleting a whole bunch of files, getting rid of a few apps that seemed to be corrupt, that I wasn't using anyway, except for one of them. And then disconnecting my USB hub. So I have a third-party USB hub, and it was causing a conflict, funnily enough. So my next stage is to test it. So here we are, we're testing it. So what should we do to test it? Do we do some editing? I've actually been playing around with photo printing. Look at that. I've been, for some reason, my photo printer disconnected. So that was one of the shots I took the other day down at Kiama. And I tried to print the other day and nothing would print. And then, now I'm back to printing. Awesome. Hey, Chance, by the way, today I went to my box and there was something in my box for the boss. So I won't be opening on the show because the boss is not patient and she's already opened it. So thank you for that, Chance. Really appreciate it. I'm sure she'll send you a message anyway. Yeah. Anybody else got a drink? What are you drinking on this Friday night? Share with me what you're drinking. Yeah, who would have thought it was that? Anyway, so I've got to test it. So what that means is we are going to do some editing because I have to test put it under load and test stuff. So let's jump over to my Lightroom. G'day, John. How you going? And let's have a look at some editing. Let me find something out of the D850. Nice big file. D850. Here we go. One of these ones from Kiama. Merlot. Drinking a Merlot. Nice. Having curry. G'day, Susan. Yeah, she was really stoked, Chance. She couldn't believe that somebody in the VIP group had actually sent her a prezi. So like I said, I'm sure you'll get a message. She was very, very grateful, and I think she was very impressed. All right, Andy, g'day. Drinking coffee. Well, it's probably coffee time over there. As where for me, it is definitely beer o'clock. So, cheers to everyone. There we go. Cheers. Look at that. Nice golden, nice amber ale. Yeah. I'll let her know, Chance. Perfect. All right. Let's jump into Lightroom and give this a whirl. Is the audio level good, by the way? Because I've had to reset up the live streaming software from the beginning. That was the other thing they made me do, was delete the installation, reinstall it. So just let me know if the audio is at the right level, because it's quite tricky to set that, and I had to guess where it needed to be. All right, let's jump into this. So this is my shots from the other day down at when I was down at Kiama, and you would have seen me if you saw. Maybe I did that live stream from the drone. You can see a couple of black photos there. Aren't they interesting? So that's when I've put the I put the big stopper on. Audio's good, thanks. Thank you, Aussie. I put the big stopper on, and the bulb setting didn't work with that remote shutter first off, so that's why that's happened. And you see a couple of photos here that I've processed. You might actually notice, g'day, Aussie Olock 66 box, g'day. Good to catch the live stream. Yeah, well, this live stream is actually a test live stream. It's not. I don't normally do a Friday night, but I have actually thought about doing another evening one. So there you go. So you can see these two photos look very similar. The one on the right is actually a proof. I'll show you actually. So this is the photo that I edited on my screen, and then what happens is when you go into developing, you'll see you've got this soft proofing, and when you soft proof. So let me untick that. Can you see how it dulls down the photo? So if I go back to the previous one, so you can see how it's quite vibrant. And then when I click soft proofing, it dulls it down and takes away the contrast. Well, what it's showing you, if you have a look over here on the right-hand side, over here, I've created a proof for my printer, which is the P400 series printer on premium glossy paper. And that's what it shows you. So when you're going to print, you actually have to make a print on that's really quite, I guess, overdone on the screen. But when it prints, because it's like if I untick that, you'll see it's actually really overdone. But when I tick that, you can see it's a different looking sort of picture. And if I show you the actual photo, I'll do that now. Here we go. So that's the actual photo there that I printed out, the test print. So you can see it's nowhere near as vibrant as what's on the screen. So you have to sort of get used to what your printer does versus what actually happens. G'day, Tan. Actually, talking about printing, Tan, how are you? I got my printer going, Tan. Now, Tan's a good friend of ours over in Perth. Look what I printed. I'm going to put that in the post and get it over to you. I actually got the printer to work finally. So, yeah, it is a good photo, this one. Anyway, so I thought what we'd do as a test, because I just need to see if it'll crash. Now, if it does crash, by the way, I won't come back. What I need to do is, if it does crash, I need to note the time and let my Apple guy, my consultant over at Apple, know exactly what time it crashed, what I was doing, and etc. But I'm hoping it won't crash. So what we're going to do is we're going to find a photo that we can edit. Let's grab one of these. This is out of the D850. Check this out, right? What's this? Here we go. So this is out of the D850. I'll go back to the settings so we can see what we're doing here. ISO 64. See, chance off to work. ISO 64, 14 millimeters. So this is my 14-24 f8 at 30 seconds. Now this is with the big stopper on there. It looks like a really... Oh, you can't see it, can you? Hang on. Let me share my screen with you. What am I doing? Here we go. There we go. So it looks like a really dark photo. ISO 64, 14 millimeters, f8, 30 seconds. And it's with the big stopper on. Now, I had to do it at that level. Hang on, let me get out of soft proofing. I'm in soft proofing. That's the only trick with that. You've got to make sure you turn it off. I had to do it at that level because if I didn't, you can see here, you can see where the highlights have blown out, just where the sun is. But everything was blowing out. So I had to underexpose it. And I would have been, you know, would have been in manual mode with the big stopper in. But this just shows you with the D850, the amount of dynamic range is amazing. So I'll bring the highlights back. Right, so you can see that gets rid of that bit where it was overexposed. I'm going to bring the exposure up right until that sun comes back like that. There we go. I'm going to bring the shadows up. And then I'm going to adjust the white balance. Let's do that. Let's find a fairly good spot for that. A nice neutral grey somewhere. Let's find one. Let's find something. Well, let's manually bring it up to warm it up. Do something like that. Here we go. Yeah, that's pretty good. There we go. Now, this is the same photo. That's before and that's after. And all I did so far is reduce the highlights, increase the shadows, change the white balance, and increase the exposure a bit. Isn't that amazing? Now what I can do is do my whites and blacks. So I'll hold down the shift key, double click on the whites, double click on the blacks. You can see it's now overexposing the sun slightly, but that's okay. I don't mind that, losing its detail. I'm going to introduce some contrast. Let's do a little bit of clarity. Let's use a bit of dehaze. Oh, no, dehaze is not going to work for this one. Let's take that away. Bit of vibrance. I think it still needs a little bit of a warm up. Just a little bit. So increase that temperature a little bit. Everyone's still with me? I can hear the fans in my computer going, so it's good we're pushing it because this is a raw file out of the D850 as opposed to a JPEG. All right, let's just turn that off so we get rid of that red point there. Now what I can do is grab the brush and make a few local adjustments. So let's do a gradient filter from the bottom and see if we can increase the shadows a little bit more on the bottom to get those shadows up in the rocks in front of us. There we go. Maybe even a little bit of exposure up. There we go. Not too much. Done. And same over here. Let's do another graduated filter over on the corner. Let's do that in here. Something like that. Let's bring that exposure up slightly. What's this? Here we go. Yeah, let's do another one from this right-hand side. Just brighten that corner up a bit so they're not so dark. It's one of the challenges when you do it like this. Everyone's still with me? Because I'm not seeing anything in the chat box. Hopefully you're still with me. Oops, what happened there? I need to adjust that one up. A little bit of exposure, not too much. There we go. Let me just check and see everyone's still there. Hang on one tick. Sounds like things are not going my way. Everything's good. No, it says it's still streaming. So you must still be there. Maybe there's a delay. I don't know. Something going wrong with the chat box? I don't know. What's happening? You're all having a drink. Oh, there's Tan. Excellent. All right. So far, so good, hey? We've had no crashing. Touch wood, touch wood. Anyway, let's also bring another filter in from the side here. There we go. Let's give that a bit still here. That's good. And we'll increase the exposure on the side here just a little bit. There we go. Let's do another one on this top corner here. Let's see if we can fix this here. Yeah, let's do another one. See if we can get it working a bit better. Get rid of that dark corner. A bit like that. Something like that. Yeah. Those top corners are really yucky. Let's crop it. Used to crash a fair bit when I cropped it, so let's give it a bit of a cropping. Let's do that. Let's crop it into a pano. What do you reckon? Like that. Good stuff. The centre rock looks like a crocodile. It does, doesn't it? I didn't notice that until you said that. Touch your head. Okay. Oh, dear. Tanya, what are you talking about? It's interesting. This one was at f8. Look at how there's no focus over here. It's quite blurry. Which is, with this lens, unusual, but, you know, right into the sun, obviously, there's a lot going on. All right, let's grab a brush now, local brush, and do some clarity on this crocodile rock. Here we go. And we'll do it on the white in here. Let's make the brush a bit bigger. Bit of clarity in here. Let's really get the center of the image popping. this rock here in the foreground. Let's do that. This bit of clarity. Look at that. Let's do another brush. G'day, Richard. Touch wood. Oh, my head. You think my head's made out of wood? That's not very nice. Let's do a bit of saturation on the horizon here. Get that colour to pop. Look at that. And nothing crashing. It's pretty good, isn't it? I'm happy. How much saturation do we want? We can make it as saturated as we want. Here we go. So let's look. This is before, and this is after. How are you, Richard, from Sandford? I don't know if I've said that right or not. Aussie, we're being good students. That's unusual. Look at that. So that's before and that's after. So this just gives you an idea of the what's possible. This is just in Lightroom. I did a presentation the other evening for MacArthur Photographic Society, and there was a lot of talk about whether Lightroom was enough to be able to process photos. But as you can see, what else do you need? I'm going to warm it up a bit more because I feel like that it's not quite right. Oh yeah, how's that looking? All right. Let's use a radial filter over here. I like radial filters. See if I can get rid of that black corner a little bit. Let's see. What can I do there? I can probably let's do that and then move it across into the corner. Let's see if we can just get it to work in our favour. So it's overexposed at the moment, but I'm just getting the right size so I can then adjust the exposure. Something like that. Let's bring that exposure back down a tad. Okay, seeing all this cheating going on. There we go. Crocodile Rock, a cool name for a song. Yes. So look at that. Before and after. So when you're looking at your photo on the back of your camera, and this is why I say to people, don't look at anything but the histogram, right? Because so long as all of this histogram, if you have a look, this is the histogram over here, top right. If all of this histogram here is within these two lines, like nothing's bunched up to the left or the right, then you're good to go. So, that's what it's all about. And I'll show you another one so you can see what I'm talking about. Let's jump back to this dark one here. So you can see the histogram here, how it's all bunched up to the left. If you hover over this here, it tells you that we've lost detail in the shadows. So this one here was too far gone, underexposed. So that's why I then took that next one, which I've just fixed. Let's look at this one here. That'll be another example. This one here is also see this blue here? So when you open up in Lightroom, if you click that on the histogram, see this over here, the histogram, there's little two arrows here. If I click the right one and click the left one, it brings up blue for the shadows we've lost and red for the highlights we've lost. So that's in a very high dynamic range scene. There's not much else you can do. So I'm okay with that. So bring the highlights down, bring the shadows up like that, bring the exposure up a tad, contrast, get the white balance right. Do your whites and blacks. So just hold down Shift key, double click on the word white, double click on the words black. Bit of clarity, bit of vibrance. Let's do a bit more contrast. And you've seen how quickly I've just done that, right? So let's just turn off these two little indicators here. And that's before. And that's after. So if you get your exposure right in camera, then you know that you can save it. The other thing I like to do is make sure you enable profile corrections. So I'll just see before and after. So you see that distortion that it's fixed? So this is with the 14 to 24, quite a bulbous front end on it. And always click this, remove chromatic aberrations. Now, I don't know if I've got any of this. Let's have a look and see if we can see any. No. Actually, I know a shot that I did have some chromatic aberrations. Let's go back to the library. Let's have a look at that and I'll show you. Do you know what? Does everyone know what chromatic aberrations are? Let's go back there. Let's use one of these ones. Let's use this one. Okay, let's use this one. Let's see if we've got some. Yeah, maybe not. This lens is very good, so I don't get a lot of it. Actually, you know what? Let's go back to these ones here, which was the previous year. See if I can get something here happening. I reckon this one will have some. Yeah, it's been removed. Let's look at, I'm just trying to find one. So typically what happens when you shoot into the sun and you've got some high areas of contrast like this, you quite often get this colour fringing. Yeah, there we go. All right. It's very slight. This lens, by the way, is very good, and I don't get a lot of it. So one of the things when you get a more expensive lens with a lot more elements, glass elements in it, this happens less often. But can you see the green line all the way around the edges of this rock? Okay, so that's what's called chromatic aberration. I'll zoom in a bit more if I can. I'm at 11 to 1. But if I now go into the develop module and go down here to remove chromatic aberrations, just watch what happens on the top of that rock there. You ready? Gone. Disappeared. So ticking that box, even if you can't see it, now remember, I'm at 11 to 1 over here. So even if you can't see the green, or sometimes it's purple, magenta, tick the box. So you can see as soon as I tick it, I don't know how well you can see that on YouTube. Can you see that disappearing? So really powerful stuff. And it doesn't matter if you're looking at a photo at this size, because the likelihood is, you're not going to see it. But if you print this up really big, you're going to see that green line. The other thing is you just click the enable profile correction. You see this one was taken by the 16 to 35mm f4, and that lens is more prone to chromatic aberration than the 14 to 24. And that's one of the big differences you get between the two lenses. So there you go. We got rid of that. And this was shot with a D810, this one. So there you go. Any questions? I'm pretty happy with this. How long have we been live streaming for? Let me have a look. Let's have a look. Hey, cheers. Having a beer. Enjoying a beer. Let's see how long we've been doing this for. Everything is working. We've been over 22 minutes and everything seems to be working, which is very cool. So there will be a pixel chatter in the morning, and that'll be the true test as to whether or not the computer's fixed. But it looks like everything is working. Cheers. Cheers, big ears. Let's say the more I drink, the better your boat race looks. Little Cockney slang there, by the way. If you're not sure what that is, you better look it up. All right. Should we have another go at something else? But I'm doing full raw photos here, full raw images. Let's jump back in there and see what else we can find in the library. Let's really see what else we can make this thing do. What about we open something in Photoshop? Is haloing the same as chromatic aberration? No. Haloing is different, and haloing happens for other reasons. You're probably, there's a little bit of it happening here. Let me go back to something like 6 to 1. Let's do 8 to 1 so you can see it. No, we'll just go back to 4 to 1 maybe. Let the computer render that. There's a little bit of haloing happening here, and it's just when you push shadows and highlights back, sometimes you get a bit of haloing, so you got to watch it. You got to be real careful. But a different thing. If I jump into the develop module, we can have a look and see what I did to this one. Let's have a look. So I haven't even ticked remove chromatic aberrations on this one, and that was shot with the 16 to 35. So as you can see, have a look at that. See those big green lines? This one's really pronounced. So let's tick it, and they're gone. See that? I'll untick it. They're there, and then I'll tick it, and it's gone. So, that lens is a lot more prone to that than the other one I'm using, the 14 to 24. Like I said, it's not a big problem. It's a bit like dust spots, right? If I go back to that other one I was looking at before, I'll pick any of them because I know there's a dust spot. That is a dust spot that's on my sensor in the D810, so it's pretty obvious over there. I mean, I keep mine relatively clean. Some people don't, and they have lots of these dust spots. But if I was to print that photo, that dust spot would be very, very easy to see. And chromatic aberration is the same because it just shows up. You'll see other things like this too. This here just looks like reflections of some sort, but these little light dots here are actually hot pixels from where I've been doing long exposures. So you just want to clone them out. So you just grab this little healing tool, and then you just, I'm just adjusting the size, not using my tablet, so it's a bit. So I'm not happy with what that's selected there. So let's just select something a bit better. But yeah, you just want to clone it out, Same with that one. Just clone them out, and then when you print, you're not going to have those funny looking distracting spots there. So be really careful. So I always, before I print a photo or before I finish a photo, I always go into. I usually use 11:1, which is really pixel peeping. But I go through frame by frame, and you can see this little square up here. You can see that's how much of the image I'm looking at. So I go through, clicking through, just looking through for any imperfections frame by frame. And it takes me about 10 minutes, but it means that I catch everything. I find every little imperfection in the photo and I get rid of it. So if there's a speck, a dot, a dust, a hot pixel, or something, I'll get rid of it. And it's always recommended if you're going to print your photos. Anyway, let's open something up in Photoshop. Maybe we could do like a panorama or something. Let me go back to my library and find some panoramic images. There we go. Let's go to Paddy's Wharf. Let's go back to the library view. Now, what I do with my tilt shift lens, and a lot of these have been processed already, with my tilt shift lens is I take a photo to the left and then a photo to the right. So you end up with two images, and then you got to join them together. So let's have a look and pick two that have definitely been two photos we can join together. So that's all single shots, single shots, single shots. So let's find some. This one here, 45mm, 45mm. Isn't it interesting the white balance changed between those two shots? I don't know what I was doing that morning, but obviously I had it on auto. That's okay. We can make it work. Let's have a look. Let's pick one. Let's pick one and we'll merge it. Let's just do it. Let's do these two here. So if you've never done patterns before in Lightroom, you just select the two. You can do photo merge, HDR panorama, or you can go to edit in, and we're going to go to merge to panorama in Photoshop. Okay. So let's do that. This will put my computer under load, and we'll just see if it still manages to do the to do the live stream as I do this. This will be a good test. Well, this will be a great test because it's usually when I'm doing something that is a little bit more effort that it upsets it. All right, now it's asking me a question. Do I want to do auto, perspective, cylindrical, spherical? Oh, what's going on here? Let's see. Are we? Oh no, it's just thinking. I'll just do auto. That'll make it work harder probably. Let's do that. Okay. And we'll see if it happens. So Susan, does that make sense with the chromatic aberrations? Is that super clear for you? All right. So Photoshop's doing its work during the live stream. This will be a real test because I couldn't have done this before. So if this doesn't crash, I reckon they've fixed the problem. Here we go. Here we go. So because this is a fair bit of work for Photoshop. Let's do a bit of Let's do a little bit of insert of me as well. Let's really load it up. Hello. Fingers crossed, yes. Having my beer, drinking beer. So we've got an inset video, plus we've got capturing the screen, and we're using Photoshop. We're making a panorama. Oh my gosh, look at that. And we're not crashing. It's almost too good to be true. It's almost too good to be true. So let's get rid of me now. Yeah, so this is how you put a pano together in Photoshop. You'll see, because of the mistake I've made in the way I've shot this photo, can you see the difference in the white balance between the two shots? the two shots are different colours. So the left hand of the photo is got a nice, white balance. The right hand side's really cold. So I'd have to fix that before I merge them together. But for the purpose of this test, I didn't. Let's merge them down to one layer. So you just hold Shift Command E, makes it one layer. That did that very quickly, no problems. How about we crop? Let's crop it down. Let's see if we can crop this down. You see why I like doing panos with the tilt shift lens? How many pixels I've got? I didn't lose any really. Let's do a crop in Photoshop. Beautiful. Look at that. All right, let's now file save, and then we'll exit. Crop, yep. Crop the image and then save. And then we will exit Photoshop, and you'll see that photo now will appear in Lightroom. That's what should happen. And I would have to say the live stream is working because it hasn't crashed yet. So the fans are going crazy right now. Here we go. Let's quit Photoshop. Come on, Photoshop. Quit out. Can see the split. Yeah. Yeah, that was a mistake of mine. So I did fix that morning. Why are we still here? I wanted to quit Photoshop. There we go. So there it is there now. So the photo is in Lightroom, and you can see where over here it was one colour and over here is the other. You can see these ones, how I've processed them. That was the end result of that shoot, when the colour was really going off and I got all the settings right. So that was, I'm yet to print this up. I've got the Epson printer, and I bought a roll of printer paper, and my printer will allow me to print onto a roll. So this pano will end up being printed. And this is 2 shots out of that lens, same spot, same morning. Obviously a different time of the morning, but I always spend a little bit of time before the colour goes off just getting everything right. Yeah, but that one sort of worked out pretty well. But yeah, if you don't get the two, so you can see where the colours come better in here, and where the balance between the 2 shots was better, the white balance. But with the, it's one of the challenges with the with doing that is you need to make sure that you keep an eye on some of your settings when you're doing panos, because you can shoot one image completely different to the other if you've got something on auto. So full manual mode when you're doing panos will be your answer. But nothing's crashed, so that's a happy days, isn't it? All right, what else could I do? What else could I do to test this thing? What about we go to... trying to think about what are the things I could open, because all right, well, let's go to where's my image storage here. I would need to import some photos. Maybe I could do that. Here's photos I'm working on. Oh, this one's a really big file. Let's try this one out. See what happens. So this one here is of Port Tacking Lighthouse at Port Macquarie, on the mid-north coast, about 6 hours drive, maybe 5.5 hours drive north of Sydney. And if you have a look over here, it's 13,832 by 7,317 pixels, and it's been cropped down a bit. It's about 6 images, all joined together in a pano. And as you can see, I'm still working on it. That's why it's in my collection called Working. So it's a pretty big file. If I go to 1:1, let's go to 1:1. That's 1:1 there. Look at that. So if things don't crash when I'm doing this, let me close this bottom toolbar. There we go. So we're at 1:1. Look at that. How sharp's that? Pretty good, isn't it? You can see where somebody had graffitied the lighthouse and they'd painted it. Look at that detail. Colour just coming through the sun there. So if I was going to do some work on this, this is going to be, this is going to work the computer pretty hard. So let's see what we could do to this. Bring the shadows up a bit more. See what happens. Yep, handled that pretty well. The fan is working well. Let me actually open up activity monitor. Activity monitor, there we go. So this monitors CPU usage, so you can see the load is, it's only halfway. So before, what was happening is the CPU load was going up quite high and the computer was crashing. So, you know, right now it seems to be managing it. So let's bring the exposure up just slightly. I don't like that. Bring it back down. Bring the highlights up a little bit, maybe. Yeah, a bit of clarity. I think the exposure has to come up just a tad. Let's do that. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to bring the exposure up and bring the highlights down again. So I really want that colour to come out. You see it's lagging a little bit, but it's managing, isn't it? It's 100% managing. Let's grab a brush and let's do a bit of saturation on the orange here. Look at this, to bring the colours out. Oh, we've got the wheel of death. No, got it, did it. Sunnyside, thank you. I love my images. I love photography. It's just an awesome thing to do. Let's see if I can bring the highlights down a little bit in there. Yeah, it's nice. Contrast up a bit in that section of the clouds, really make it pop. Yeah. How's that, eh? So this is a really big file and it's managing it. So let's have a look and see how long we've been going for. 37 minutes and no crash. So I'm thinking that, yeah, this is the control panel I get to see when I live stream. So you get to see that. So it tells me my stream is good. And tells me we're going for 37 minutes. We haven't had any problems, which is really cool, huh? And you can see the CPU is definitely under load from me processing this photo, but it's not crashing. Yeah, this is definitely going to be printed up as a pano and framed, this one. This is one that just needs a bit of time for me to work on it and get it right. By the way, if you're ever wondering how you do stitch panoramas of water, long exposures is the answer. It's the only way. Otherwise, you can't stitch them together because the waves won't match up. So see how all the water's just got the whitewash in it? So if I didn't do long exposures, it'd be very difficult to stitch it together. The problem with doing a long exposure, whilst this here is very sharp, look how sharp the lighthouse is, extremely sharp, you can see that the clouds aren't. See the movement in the clouds, and that's because I'm doing a longer exposure. But it works, you know, it all works because it's quite dramatic. There was a storm out in the horizon. There was the sun coming up. Quite a dramatic picture, and it all works. Dry community, yeah. A lot of them like that in Northern Territory, isn't it? A lot of them. All right. Well, I think that's a wrap. I think that's successful. I don't know what you guys think, but I'm really happy. I think that we're just going to have to. I think we're just going to have to go with Pixel Chatter in the morning and see what happens, and hopefully they have fixed it up. G'day, Dave. How you going? And as you can see, I'm just about out of beer. Oh, correction. I'm out of beer. So that was a 1 beer live stream. And I promise I won't have beer in the morning. I'll have a coffee. But I haven't been able to make this thing crash. So, and I have been editing large raw files. So by the looks of things, there's a good chance that Apple have fixed it. And ironically, I can't show you the USB hub because it's double-sided tape to the back of the computer. But they were saying that there was some issues with that, some conflicts. So, and the challenge is I've got a lot of USB things. So I've got to work out how to plug them all back in. So anyway, all right, well, I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much, guys, for hanging around and helping me to fix this live stream because, or test it anyway. Test the live stream. You didn't help me fix it. You helped me test it. Close enough. And I'm going to be on for Pixel Chatter in the morning, which is in about 12 hours. It was the JPEGs, yeah. Well, anytime I tried to edit anything or do anything that was a larger file, it just spat me out. Didn't like it. If it's going to do that multi-shot pano without spitting me out, then happy days. All right, so goodbye, everyone. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm going to stop streaming, and I'll be on in the morning at 8:30 a.m. for Pixel Chatter. Until then, go get some sleep. Have a drink. Have a Coca-Cola, Paul. And that's it. I'm done for beers anyway. I don't like drinking too many. I've only got some. I'll say hi to the main boss. I will do, Tan. Done. I'm surprised the main boss didn't get in. And the boss has her sign in on here says Nikki the boss. So we all know when she logs in. Alrighty. Adios, everybody. Good night.